Today we are going to use the Tinkercad sketch tool to make Tinkercad Rex or Sketchy Rexy. So let's get cracking. Step one is to get to the template. I'm going to tell you that we're going to type bit.ly/HLTinkRex. You will be at the template. Before I go any further, friends, I do want to say thanks to everybody that is supporting me. Don't forget, you can easily hit subscribe. That is free. I also have YouTube memberships, and you can support me via Patreon. This template will help you make your very own Sketchy Rexy. Of course, it is set to copy and tinker, so don't forget the golden rule of Tinkercad: give a reaction before you copy and tinker. This, my friends, is a side view of the awesome Flexi Rexi. I will have a link to it. It is awesome to print. I just want to be able to make my own in Tinkercad, and the brand new sketch tool has made that so easy. Before you set it down, I want you to understand it is 20 by 20. So if we place it in a good spot, things line up better. I've intentionally put the tail right here at this corner, so you can see right now I have snapped that to the edge, and this way it lines up, which makes it easier for tracing. Now, Tinkercad has given us the awesome sketch tool. We've got the shortcuts: 1 for line, 2 for Bezier curve, and then you can also erase shapes. There is an amazing feature preview. You can check this all out. I've, of course, got a tutorial. I'll put it up here. You can just walk through, and it's got animated explanations of all the cool things you can do with the sketch tool. Of course, once you've learned things, hit continue to sketch. Now, we're going to draw this with lines today. Notice I'm just going to click, click, and click. I do want this one to be a little curved, so I'm going to hit 2, and I'm going to click and hold, and notice it makes that curved shape. We're going to use what's called multi-sketch. So I'm going to click out here and start a new sketch, which is also P for pen. This time I'm going to click and once again make it straight. I'm just zooming in on these to get them close. They don't have to be perfect. This is where you can modify this and make yours as cool as you want. Once again, I'm finished with that one. I'm going to click outside it and do P for pen and start the next one. This one I'll do a little more curves. I'm going to press 2. Notice it automatically switched to Bezier curves. Click, hold, and twist to bend it. I want to go back to number 1. So this is a line. Click, click, and click to finish each chunk. You can make them as curved or as straight as you want. I'm going to start with a straight line and a straight line. Don't forget, you can always click 2, click and hold. I'm going to go back to a number 1, but then I'm also going to show you when you're done, you can click on these. It gives you the measurements. We cannot edit these yet, but maybe someday we will be. If you double click to edit, you can click on individual sections and get their length. There are also modifiers for these points. You can do straight, smooth, or broken lines. Let me show you those real quick. This one has a broken line. This right here has a straight line. If I hit number 2, you will notice that those are now connected. Notice they stay the same. If I click that dot and do 3, now they are broken, and I can make each bend so it gets the exact shape that I want. Also, if you double click, it makes it all straight. And if you double click again, it makes it all round. If you don't like what you did, you can always do Control Z to go back to the one you wanted. I want to click in here, and I want to get this corner so it's number 3 as well. And I'm just going to give this a slight bend to make it look a little more fun. Not mandatory, just having fun with it. Of course, when I'm finished, I'm going to click outside and do P for pen and continue that process, just making these straight pieces all the way across. I'll just speed this up with a little video editing. If you start to look ahead for these, if you want to get closer to an exact spot, change your snap grid. You can go to off so you don't even have to worry, or choose a grid level as low as 0.1. Let's bump up the speed again as we repeat these steps. And let's wrap this up by pressing P and tracing the head. Now, once again, straight line till I get down here. Then I'm going to hit number 2 and give it that bend of the corner. I'm going to keep going straight so I don't have to mess with a bend. I'm just going to go here, here, a little bend on this corner, back to straight, straight, and then I want these teeth to be sharp. So I'm going to do straight lines here, just like this. Notice I'm in Bezier curve mode, but it still thinks they are straight lines because I'm just clicking and not holding. Trace this back up. I'm going to go right here, and I do want to bend this piece so I can click and hold, and then finish by moving back there. Bang, we have just made our sketch Rex. How cool is that? I'm going to tell you the height I want to make this is 13. That is the size I use when I 3D print these. Now, if you see parts you want to adjust, like they're not quite the way you want, you can double click to go back in, and you can adjust these however you desire. Simply click on the parts you want to change, zoom in, say you wanted to grab that and move it down a little. Maybe you even want to make it curve in. Instead of these points, I'm going to change them to number 3. Now I can take these handles and add any sort of bend or twist that I wanted. All sorts of room for you to have fun and make this look exactly like you think it should. When you're done, simply hit Finish Sketch, and notice now that curve is a little different. Now, friends, it's time to make the awesome connectors that make this all work. Make sure our grid is back to 1. Bring out the brand new sketch tool, and we need to set it in a 20 by 20 spot. Notice I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. I am lining it up with a grid spot. Once we appear in, you can see how this brown set of lines lines up exactly in the center of our project. We're going to make a rectangle that is 9 by 4. Notice right here is 0, so if I come straight up, that is 9, this is 4, and when we click and finish it, Tinkercad actually shows us the dimensions now. All right, so here's where it gets super cool. We've got our 4 by 9. Double click it to edit. Click on this line and press number 2, which turns it into the curve we want. Notice it's got broken handles, and then we're going to use these grid points to make it line up perfectly. This would be 1 millimeter up, and we want to move 4 millimeters out. To make our curve perfect, we just do the same thing on the other end. 1 millimeter out, 4 millimeters up. Bingo. Perfect curve. How cool is that? Now, when we print, this is a little bit easier if this has a slope. So we're going to just drag that whole point up 1 and drag that whole point down 1. And now this is easier for the printer to work with because it'll always be laying filament up, and we can simply hit Finish Sketch. That is going to be the part that we use. We will make it 3 millimeters thick. Now, friends, we're going to cut out the pins. We are going to make our pins with the sketch tool. Once again, I'm setting it inside here. And we're going to make a cylinder or a circle that's size 4. To do that, from the center, we go up 2, and we go down 2, and we make a diamond. Bingo. If you double click and double click, it turns into a perfectly smooth circle. How cool is that? Of course, when we finish, let's quickly switch it so it's a hole. Now that gives us the perfect size 4, but the number I really want is 3.5. So check this out. We are going to Shift Stretch to Crazyville, type 3.5, and press Enter. Bang! Perfectly smooth cylinder that we're going to put inside this shape. We're going to add a pin to it that's solid, so just do Control D. And then this one, once again, hold down Shift, stretch one of these side handles, and this time we're going to type 2.75. So that's going to be the gap. We do want to make it a solid. We do want to switch it to a solid. I'm going to choose the color yellow just so these show up a little bit better. Let's quickly select these two and choose L to align. And I'm going to set it to this edge. And then I'm simply going to move it in 1 millimeter. To line up the pin, I'm going to use the Align tool, but I want to make sure I've got the heights different. Notice this one is going to be 6.87, so that way I can do Shift Select, L for Align, make this one the boss, choose Center and Center. Now I can easily click the yellow one and lock it. That way we can do Control G to group. That gives you a good view of how the gap was, and it teaches you how locked items do not group, which is pretty darn slick. Now we can click on that pin and unlock it. I'm going to change that height to the height I want to work with, 6.5. Grab them both, L for align, and we want the blue part to be aligned with the center of the pin. So that is going to be the part that we use for the rest of this project. Let's leave that as a template, do Control D. I'm going to bring this over and we need to stand it up. To do this, I always like to look at it from a corner. That lets me find this handle. And it lets us also see this handle so we can start aligning it just the way we want. I'm going to take this and do Control G to make it a group. D to drop. So let's line up these pins. Here's how it works. Click on Flexi, do T for transparent. We're going to click on the blue piece and you can move it away or you can just flat out delete it. That's up to you. These need to be lined up so this chunk is back here and the pin is in the same direction as the next part. Set your grid to 0.1. Let's switch to flat view, top view so we can see these better. And just do Control D, drag your part over. I'll do F to fit view so I can zoom in and then just simply line it up so that the angles are going to match. Notice this sticks out just a little bit, which is absolutely fine. That is going to connect there. Now, if you do notice this is running into it, don't worry about that. We'll fix it in a minute. So once again, top view. I'm going to just use this one, Control D. You saw it blink. I'm going to move it forward. Notice it is not following the same line. So I'm just going to twist and line it up. Notice if you stay inside, it's 22.5 degrees. If you move the mouse outside, you can get it to the exact degrees you want. That looks pretty good, sticking out just a little bit, which is absolutely fine. I can go back to this one and tweak it if I want. But we just continue that process all the way along Flexi Rexi. I, of course, have sped this up with editing, but as you can see, it gets pretty darn easy to adjust and get them exactly how you want. So with all of our pins in place, I'm going to click down here and hit F to fit view, and let me show you how we do the cutouts. We simply edit our sketch, and then because of multi-sketch, we can double click again. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to press the number 4 to get into add point mode. We need to add 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to make sure they're about a ½ millimeter away. Notice each one of these grids is 1 millimeter. It's just a guess and check. You also need to press V to switch to move mode so that you can then grab the point and put it where you want. Now I want these to be more precise, so I'm going to shut off the grid. That lets me place them anywhere, so now I can easily get this close to a ½ millimeter away and perpendicular to that hinge. See how I just surrounded it that quickly? Bingo, we can now double click and switch to the next one. Note, if you get in here and you accidentally double click and you lose your curves, simply do Control Z. If you want to adjust your curves so they look a little different, you can do that as well. But what we're here to do is make the gap around that hinge. Once again, press the number 4. Add the first point, the second point, the third point, and the fourth point. Then we hit V to switch to that mode. We can simply line that up so it's pretty perpendicular. Make sure this one is past the hinge and bring it back. Double click and it's finished. Now I'm going to show you this one more time before I speed through the rest. Once again, double click to edit. Press the number 4 to get into add point mode. Here's point 1, point 2, and the third and the fourth point. If you don't hit V, I'm going to show you this. It deletes it. So there, I'm going to add that. Now I'm going to hit V, drag the entire line up so that's perpendicular, move this point out. And I'm also going to show you this. If you want to change your adjustments, you can simply grab those 2 points that easily. If you look closely, this is a curve. If we click it and press the number 1, bingo, it's back to a line. I'm going to pan. You can do that with the keyboard shortcut, or I just did it with the scroll wheel, and then I'm just going to repeat the process in speed mode for the rest of this. Bingo, they are all done. I do not like how close these are, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it like this. I'm going to double click this one, and I'm going to move this a little more this way, so now I can grab that entire joint and move it further the other way. Click Finish Sketch, zoom in. These are the 2 that are close. I do need to unlock that one. But now that I've got it unlocked, I can just move it forward so they're no longer running into each other. How cool is that? Let's quickly switch back to perspective mode. I'm going to grab these parts and move them even further away. Once again, set my templates over here. And now we want to grab all of this and we want to align it to middle. Notice those pins would be down below. So L for align, click on Flexi Rexi's body, and bingo, get those pins to the right height. This is actually as far as you would have to go if you wanted to print it. Of course, I want to add a cool eye and eyebrow. Now you could also add parts along the back. I'm going to skip that today because I'm also going to use this part for Wednesday's tutorial because I'm going to show you how to round all the edges using the Send to Fusion button. Real quickly though, let's make that eye. I'm going to take our sketch cylinder and do Control D. Nudge it out here using Shift Nudge. I'm going to set my nudge back to 1 millimeter so that goes a little bit faster. Let's do Fit View, and then I'm going to choose to Shift Stretch, and I want this to be 4 millimeters on each side. That'll fit his head pretty darn well. I want it to sink in 1.5 millimeters. Of course, it needs to be a hole. We want one on the top and one on the bottom. So I'm going to do Control D. I'm going to raise this up a little bit, but I want to match the height to the body. Notice I select them to do L for align. Let's zoom out so we can see better. And we simply want to match it like that. Now I can grab the two eyes and let's use the arrow keys to nudge them to where we want it to be. I'm going to choose right there. If you wanted a larger eye, of course you could make it. Now we're going to use Sketch to make a super fun eyebrow. Once again, dropping the Sketch tool on a 20 by 20 spot. I'm going to make that eyebrow a little more than 5 millimeters across. So I'm going to simply click. Let's do the number 2 so it's a bezier. Have it curve out here like this. Curve down. Once again, click and hold. And click and hold. And then bingo. That's going to be my little eyebrow. If we hit Finish Sketch, we can turn it into a hole. For a moment, I'm going to stretch it real long so that we can see how it looks. Turn it at the exact angle that we like. Let's move over there so we're looking at it from above. That looks pretty cool, but check this out. If we want to make it a little different, you don't have to edit. You can just tweak, stretch, and twist to get the exact sort of eyebrow that you want. Now we do need 2 of these, and they both need to be 1.5. So I'm going to do 1.5 for that one and press enter. Then I'm going to hide Flexi for a moment. And I'm going to do Control D. I can do Control up to raise it to the right spot, but even smarter is to just grab those 2, choose L for align, click on that circle to make it the boss, and of course we want them to be at the same height. If we do Show All, you have now got Flexi Rexi and his awesome face. All right, those are all aligned. Now we're going to cut out some toes and some hands. We're going to do that with an awesome trapezoid. Simply search for trap. Once you press enter, it takes a moment for them to arrive. We want to use the awkward trapezoid. Simply turn it into a hole. Rotate it 90 degrees. Notice it's 22.5 degrees per turn. I'm going to show you this way. Same thing, 90 degrees. But if we hold shift, it's 45 degrees per turn. We can now take this and move it into place to cut the foot out. Notice it's not lined up, so we're going to select those 2 shapes. L for align, make Flexi the boss, and choose middle. Boom, that's the perfect place to cut the foot. Of course, now we're going to do Control D and see if we can find a great place to cut the hands. We do not want to cut into this shape. Notice I got lucky and missed it. We can simply grab these black handles and adjust it until we're happy. You could also rotate it as well. Notice I'm still cutting in over there, so I'm just going to use the arrows to move it until I'm happy. Don't forget you can also adjust your nudge so you can be more precise. That, my friends, is our Flexi Rexi. And a real quick shout out to Deirdre. Friends, you don't have to group the holes. If they make you feel better, you can, but you can just select everything. And when you choose export, Tinkercad does that math for the holes for you. I'm going to save in my 3D modeling folder. Because the project was originally named Sketchy Rexi, I can simply click right there and delete those parts and choose save. And now it's time to bounce to Bambu Studio. Of course, friends, I'm going to hit create brand new project. Let's add that file. Of course, it is named Sketchy Rexi. Rumor has it I might have tried 3 times before I got it right today. But there is our awesome Sketchy Rexi. You can see all the gaps in between it. I'm going to use the standard profile. Let's slice that plate. Note it is going to take about 40 minutes. And let's print that plate. Finally, send it to the 3D printer. After a moment, it bounces to the device menu. And of course, I'll show you in 40 minutes how it turns out. And something like 40 minutes later, check it out. We have got an awesome either Tinkercad Rex or Sketchy Rexi. How cool is that? Friends, as I wrap up, of course, I hope you learned a ton about how to use the Tinkercad sketch tool. It is one of the coolest things I have seen added to Tinkercad in years. I do also want to say thanks to people that are supporting me with the memberships. And of course, I also want to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters. Absolutely love how that group is growing. Don't forget you can learn more with the bit.ly up above or the link in the description. Finally, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget every time you hit that like button, share a video, add a comment down below, or hit subscribe. You're helping HLModTech get just a little bit bigger, which absolutely makes my day. Friends, have a glorious day and keep tinkering.